Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. Today's video is going to be just a quiet walk around the garden and all around the yard and looking at signs of spring. I'll also do a little bit of voiceover to tell you what you're looking at, but I hope you enjoy seeing where we're starting this year with the spring of 2023 gardening season. This is the garden we're starting with. This is where the season begins, so please enjoy. We're starting our tour off today over here on the driveway, which is a place I very rarely show on this channel, but I was so excited to see all of these hellebores blooming. These are seedlings that came up volunteers from other hellebores that I have up near the house, and I planted them down here 2 years ago in the spring, and now they are all blooming really nicely. I believe these are Brandywine and Pine Knot Select. And then over here on this other side of the hill, I have some more. Some of them are pink edged with white, like this one, and others of them are creamy white or sort of an ivory color. I love them both, and I'm really happy to have them starting to populate this driveway hill, which is a difficult place to garden. I'll be happy if these fill in. Also on this hill we have some Vinca minor, also known as periwinkle, and it has started to bloom for the spring. I do love these colors. I just love that purple color, that periwinkle blue, and I'm happy to see it blooming. I know it's an invasive species, but it does lighten up this hill. Our daffodil clumps all around the south hill are putting on buds, lots of leaves, and some buds coming on almost all of the clumps. A couple more weeks will be beautiful. Here's our corner hill. It desperately needs to be cleaned up. That lamb's ear is taking over. On our welcome gardens, it needs some cleanup as well, but things are looking okay. These sunshine ligustrum, they drop their leaves. We do have some daffodils coming along, so that'll be pretty when they're blooming. We have some hyacinths in these gardens as well that have started to pop. These are second year, so they're not going to bloom as beautifully as they did last year, but I think it'll still be a nice pop of color. Something has been eating on them. My winter pots are looking somewhat worse for the wear, but we do have hyacinths coming along in these little triangular parts along the front walk. Again, these are second year, so they're not going to be as floriferous as they were last year, but this should still be pretty. The evergreens in this garden are doing well, but I wish I had more evergreen interest in this area, so that's going to be a goal for this year. Lots of deciduous shrubs in here, roses, smokebush, azaleas. This is some phlox that blooms white in the early spring. I need to trim all this stuff back and clean up this bed and get it ready for spring. Everything's looking okay. The azaleas have been eaten. I'm not surprised, but I am disappointed. Here's a big azalea that it has died. I did transplant it 2 years ago from one spot to another in this garden, and I guess it didn't survive the transplant. So that'll have to come out. Over here around on this corner end of this bed, I do have some geranium, hardy geranium. These are bare root last year, and I think the 3 little ones didn't really survive very well, but hopefully the 2 big ones did. There's a clethra in there that the deer like to eat on. Hey, look, this is our first daffodils of the season over here on the south side of the house, up against the hot foundation. They love this warm spot, so they've already popped open. That is a cheerful sign of spring, isn't it? We have several clumps of daffodils over here, but these 3 were the first to bloom. Oh, and there's one over there too by the birdhouse. Let's go look at it. Oh, there's nothing quite like the first daffodils of the season. Over here against the south side of the house on the back side, I've got some foxgloves that I started from seed last year. and they have overwintered. They did brown up a little bit, but they're starting to come back. So those should be blooming in a month and a half or so, I would guess. This is kind of a lost area over here. We've got this is a tray. I think those are all hosta roots that I didn't take care of last year, but maybe they'll still live. I don't know. We'll try. And then this little no man's land here has lots of containers of things that have just kind of been set aside. Here's some chives. I've got more hellebores in this bed. There's some Dutch iris, random things in pots. These black pots here have the Arbor Day Foundation trees that I got for free last year. I potted them up and they've stayed there for a year now. Speaking of things in pots, this is my plant stash right now. These are some phlox that I forgot that I had bare roots, so I potted them up, put them in the garage, and now I've taken them out. Hopefully they'll live. This is a blue spruce that I got on clearance at the end of the season last year from Lowe's. I haven't planted it yet, obviously, but I'm looking for a good spot for it. And then I have 3 dwarf Alberta spruces that I got on 75% off clearance after Christmas. I didn't pay that. I paid $4.99 each, I believe. So I think some of these will probably go into containers. I might find a place in the ground for them as well. I don't know. And then this is spreading wintergreen that I also got on clearance, 75% off after Christmas. I think maybe some of it has dried up a little bit, but I think I'll be able to pull it through. These are supposed to be evergreen, although they do look like they're maybe risky of not truly being evergreen. But the deer do like them, so I have to put them inside the fence. Here is the driveway hill up against the fence. You saw me work on this area last spring. All the spring flowering bulbs are coming along. And then there's a big patch of vinca. And then further down the way, there are Tradescantia, daylilies. There's some ajuga down there. Lots of things. All right, let's go up into the courtyard area. This garden is a mess. Oh my gosh, I haven't done anything to clean it up or take care of it over the winter. There's my little topiaries that I started 2 years ago, and they're kind of struggling. I didn't highlight them last year at all because they kind of look bad. This bed needs to be taken care of. I need to get my phlox cut back. I've got the yarrow that I got to cut back. This is an Eden Climber rose. Need to prune that and fertilize it. Lots of perennials in here that need to be cared for. It's a mess. It's just a mess. I can't remember what's in there. It looks like maybe daffodils, but who knows? And then these are the pots that I had annuals in last year. I didn't ever get them cleaned up. Oh, work to be done for sure. I want this to be a pretty spot, not a rangy mess like it is right now. Let's go into the backyard. Go inside the fence here, see what we can find. Obviously, I didn't clean before you guys came over because I got things laying on the ground. They've been laying there all winter. It's quite a mess, but here we are. Over here in this corner near the hose, the twisted shout hydrangea is doing well. I also have a spirea in here that does well. But here's a pile of iris rhizomes that I just left there all winter. They're trying to live. I should put them in the soil. These are the mother hellebores for all of the hellebores that are on that big hill that I showed you earlier. These I need to trim back the old leaves so that the new growth and flowers can really shine. It's a task to come. Still work in progress. All of my gardens are still work in progress, but I tell you what, I do love this contorted filbert here. This is just one of my very favorite plants. This is a Harry Waters walking stick, and I love it. This area, work in progress. Needs to be trimmed, needs to be cared for, needs to be redesigned with winter in mind, not just spring and summer. These hellebores are giant, but I need to trim them back so that this year's growth can come through. Golden Globe Arborvitae has its bronze color for the winter. hostas are under here, and so they haven't started to come out yet, but the wild onions have started. Here's another hellebore, some Hikona Quoa. I don't know, it's just kind of winter. We do have signs of spring though, because the hellebores are trying to bloom. The heuchera kept its color all winter, so that's nice. The layer of shredded leaves around here just made everything look so brown this year. Alright, and then there's my pile of hostas that I put into containers and never did anything with last year. Ugh, lazy gardener, that's me. Hey, let's look at the Nellie Stevens holly because she's beautiful. She was planted in, I want to say 2017, maybe a year before that. She's gorgeous. My row of endless summer hydrangeas did the best ever last year. I'm hoping again they'll do well this year. This is a tea olive or Osmanthus fragrans, and it dropped every single leaf on it this year. It was marginally hardy in zone 7. It's really more of a southern plant. It does still have bend in it, so it's not snapping, so it might not be dead. I don't know if it's going to put out new leaves though. But my Pieris is doing well. It's got beautiful buds for this year's spring flowers. This is Katsura, Pieris japonica. And then here is a Camellia japonica, Jerry Hill, and it's got lots of buds on it. I hope they don't get frozen off before they bloom. Incredible hydrangea there, it's very young still. These are all autumn sages, Furman's Red, and it's sort of a hedge of 4 of them here. So I'm hoping that they'll be spectacular this year for the hummingbirds. They put out beautiful red flowers that the hummingbirds adore. I have 2 gardenias here that bit the dust this winter, so those will be coming out. Candy Tuft is really happy here and looks like it's getting ready to bloom very soon. This bed has lots of perennials underground. There's holly right in the middle. I just put that in the fall. Let's go down these steps and look at it from the other side. On either side of the steps, I've got my, what is that? My Firelight Tidbit hydrangeas that I got on sale last fall. What else? Out, lots of buds. Looking forward to having those there. Across the front of this bed, there's more perennials here and some allium, and there's that incredible hydrangea there. I'm hoping it'll be big and gorgeous this year. Alright, my tiered beds. This top one is my vegetable bed, but right now it is filled with wild onions, which is really frustrating. I did plant some garlic and some onion sets in here last year in the fall. Some of the garlic looks like it's alive, but I don't see any sign of any of the onions. There's 3 garlics there. Nothing else in here is showing signs of life. There are some tulips that I put in there that I don't see yet. Otherwise, it's just all wild onions. Here are some daffodils that I planted in the fall. I don't remember which ones they are. I'm hoping they're just pretty, and I don't need to remember the names of them. I hope that's the case. And they're spread down this grass pathway on the left side along the fence. And there's that vegetable bed again, just filled with wild onions, which is frustrating. Try to dig those out so I can plant vegetables in there. The second bed is where I tried to spread larkspur seed. I only see larkspur plants coming up in 3 or 4 spaces, so I don't think that it worked. So I'm not sure what I did wrong. Maybe when I spread the seeds, I think maybe they got covered with shredded leaves, so they didn't germinate. I don't know. But almost none of my seeds efforts worked in here. This bottom bed is for perennials that need more sun than I have in other spots. Right now I've got some dahlias in here that I left in the ground. I've got some tall bearded iris in here. And then around the curvy part of the stone edge, there's a lot of different perennials that I've held in there over the winter until they find a new home. All right, back over here on the fence side. Pink Chiffon Rose of Sharon was really pretty last year, and I hope it'll be pretty again this year. Got 2 flowering quinces here. These are the Proven Winners ones that are thornless. They're double flowered, and these are coral colored. So Sorry about the out of focus, but they're all budding up, and so I'm hoping that they'll be beautiful in here. I may need to find a new spot for them because they're just not very interesting most of the year. I might be able to find another place to put them to enjoy them while they're blooming, but then let them be in the background when they're just green in the summer. Lavender there is doing okay, needs to be cared for, as does everything else. Under these wire baskets I have some white swan echinacea that I grew from seed last year, and I'm hoping that it comes back without any interference from rabbits. My emerald green arborvitaes are hanging in there. I thought I was going to lose them in the first summer that I had them 2 years ago due to water issues, but I think they're pulling through. More perennials down in here, shrubs, tulips, hydrangeas, my Cherokee Princess dogwood is here. It's got lots of buds on it, so I'm hopeful for that too. In the back garden behind the arborvitaes, I've got 3 or 4 Arctic fire dogwoods, and they're doing well. Okay, so let's look over here at the base of the arbor. Got boxwood, and here's a rose. This is a Zephyrine Druin rose, and it mostly died last year. I think it might have to come out. This is a Chinese snowball viburnum that I'm training up into a tree form. It's got lots of branches on it now. I'm hoping it'll be beautiful this year. And this is the lower patio garden that we just had installed last September. This is just a sitting area. This won't be for eating. It's too far away from the house for that. But it is a beautiful spot to relax, so you feel like you're in a sunken garden. Well, and you are. Under the snowball viburnum, I've got some heucheras coming along. Wild onions everywhere, of course. More heuchera. Here's the Laura petalum that I think it has to come out. It's too cold for it here and not enough sun. There's an azalea there with more heucheras underneath there. The color scheme of this garden area is pink. So lots of shades of light, medium, and rich pinks underneath here. Further back in this corner, I've got a Pieris japonica here. This one's going to have to move. I didn't realize how big it gets before I put it in here. It needs to move in to have more space. Got 2 gold dust akubas here. There are 4 shamrock inkberry hollies, but 3 of them died and one's almost dead, so those are going to come out. China boy holly there. There's some sedum autumn joy, and then a twisted shout hydrangea that I love. I have this rose obelisk here at the base of it. The feverfew that I planted from seed last year has come back as a perennial, so that's a nice surprise. Got some salvias here, and then this rose is Can, and it's a tall climber, so I need to do some pruning on that. And then there's hydrangeas in here. There's a Blue Point juniper. Oh, you know what? I want to take you down here and show you something else. I do plan to have some little walking paths in here with probably just mulch on the paths. I wanted to show you these Mahonia that I put in. Oh, but before we get there, I guess we're going to look at the hellebore and the gold dust. Gold dust akuba. There's a hellebore down here. This is a Brandywine variety. It went in the late fall, so I don't see any new growth on it yet, but hopefully that'll like that spot. Okay, now let's go look at the Marvel Mahonia that I planted around the back side of the patio up against the fence. These were supposed to be hardy in my zone, and they just look terrible. They've lost almost every single leaf. I had hoped to be able to line this fence with them, but the way they look right now, I'm not convinced. I certainly won't be planting any more right away, but I'll hold out and see if they put out new leaves. My Dragon Lady hollies, of which I have 5 in the property, they are all doing really well, so I'm very happy with those. Okay, so this area in this lawn on this hill has those 2 pipes that are draining out from up the hill. Those come off the roof downspouts, and the water comes under those grass down the hill and comes out right here. So in this area, I think we're going to put in a rain garden. which is a way to collect rainwater and help it percolate into the soil. Let's check on all of the different sedums and hens and chicks that we put in along the rocks of the stairs. They seem to have made it through the winter and maybe even multiplied a little bit. I'm pretty happy to see how healthy these all look. I thought I might lose some because of holding moisture, but well, so far so good. Well, maybe not that one. Alright, heading up the hill a little bit. Let's just kind of get a sense of how the yard is put together. We've got the 3 terraces down the hill and then the lawn. And then along the fence I have about a 3 foot at the narrowest, and it gets gradually wider flower bed along the fence. Right here along the fence is another tea olive, Osmanthus fragrans. Again, lost every single leaf. Looks like maybe a deer jumped the fence and came in and chewed the tops of the stems as well. But the stems are all still bendable, so maybe it's not dead. We'll have to see. I'm not convinced that these are going to work for me here. Got some Sweet William biennials flowers in front of that. Here's another Camellia japonica. This one did not fare well in our cold weather this year. This is Turandot variety, but it doesn't look great. And the boxwood. This is Summer Fashion Rose. It's the one that's yellow and pink. It's beautiful. Oh, my Firepower Nandinas. I love them. And I said last year that I was going to find a way to use them to greater effect in the garden. I haven't done that yet, but I still have it in my mind. I want to use more of the Firepower Nandinas because I just love the colors of them. This area is coming along. Let's come back up to the top of the yard. Actually, you know what? Let's go out front and see how the rest of the front yard is looking. Just outside this gate on the side yard, I have a Korean Spice Viburnum, and it has done really well in this location. This year, it's going to have, hopefully, a lot of flowers. Look at all these buds that are on the ends of each of these stems. I was hoping we don't get a frost that takes these buds away from us, but so far so good. Lots of buds to come on that. Lots of different perennials around here. There's some euphorbia. There's where my baptisia is. Oh, I wanted to show you this deer damage. This is a euonymus shrub that has just been totally decimated. But my Taylor junipers are doing well. I have 4 of these across the house. Here's one. And it's getting taller, and it is getting a little bit thicker up along the stem, so that's good. This rhododendron has got something wrong with it. I don't know what is affecting this. I don't know what the problem is, but I fear I may be losing it. I have been fertilizing it and keeping it watered, so I'm not sure why. Still have to work on this area. Flower box is looking raggedy. Orange Rocket Barberry loses its leaves, but has bright red stems. Here's my other Taylor on this side of the house. It's doing well. Front porch pots from Christmas look pretty bad. And then over on this side, we already saw a peek of this, but there's a lot of deciduous things. A lot of deciduous things in this garden, and so I'm hoping to find a way to make things a little bit more evergreen interest. All of my azaleas in this side of the flower bed have been eaten back by deer. We're not going to get any flowers on any of them, so those are going to come out. I'm just tired of fighting with it. I do have some foxgloves coming along. There's another sunshine ligustrum. This is a white azalea shrub. It's really old. Hopefully we'll get some flowers off of it. And then let's come over and take a look at the deer fence that you may have watched me put up some deer netting. Oh, before we get there, let's look at this David Austin rose. The variety is Juliet. The deer eat it, so it's going to go inside the backyard this year. All right, let's check on the deer fencing. Yeah, they have been ramming it and breaking it and pushing it down and getting in anyway. So my deer fencing has not been working. It's really hard to see. Sorry, the video is not very captivating, but the netting, in fact, this whole section here, there's no netting on it because they broke it over on the other pole. Yeah, right here, they just ripped it, totally tore all the way down, and the piece of it that was in front of this section folded back onto itself over there. So this video is a pretty bad video, but it's kind of showing what I'm fighting with the deer here. So it turns out that I got so worried about the fencing that I forgot to do a sign off. So I thought I would bring you back over here, show you these daffodils again, and thank you so much for coming along on my February 2023 garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a chance to get out in your garden sometime soon too, friends. Take care, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.